to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Great to be on the show. Love what you guys do.
Thank you to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
What is the Rose Lavelle special?
You can get 3 to 4 cheese ponies.
I'll allow our fans to dream because that's the beauty of the game.
Welcome into Cincinnati Soccer Talk. The Florida Storm blows in and out just as quickly, leaving nothing but frustration in its wake. But hey, did you see David Beckham? When you head into work this next week and those coworkers that know you're the soccer person in the office ask you how the game was, you can say, I was in the same room as David Beckham. The stadium has a roof. We can all agree it's one room, right? Well, I'm your host, Boston Brazel, and we have quite the show for you tonight, a Labor Day special, because those of you listening and those of us talking are certainly in it for the long haul. Anyone can hang out with CST from 2016 to 2018, but the 2021 listeners, well, you guys are a special breed. And we salute you, you crazy soccer maniacs. But hope is not all lost. You see, last week I said FC Cincinnati would not have not just one chance, but 2 to get those elusive 3 points at home. And that latter and probably best chance is coming this weekend. So rub your lucky tickets together and slap those Believe banners, because these 3 points, and Vegas agrees, are possible. Now I stopped short and said possible because I'm not about to put a jinx on this team. That is why we have co-hosts, so they can take the fall for me. So let's bring in these co-hosts. First up is the twin that brought me into the CST family, but the one I talk to the least. Welcome to the show, Mr. Brian Weigel.
Oh, dear Lord, I love you. Speaking of jinxes, I bought a Weston McKennie jersey that just got here this week, and he is not in good shape. So go check that out for jinxes of 2021. Gotta love this year. Great time. No, happy to be back with you, pal. I can't believe that you got so many popular voices and people to get out on our new intro. You're doing good work here, man. You know, Sub's quickly forgotten with Boston Razzle Dazzle here.
Yeah, that totally was not digging through the archive to make people say exactly what I wanted them to say.
Dude,
but,
Harks, Birding, Alan Koch, and of course, you know, she cuts her spaghetti, Rose Lavelle.
That's right. Hope you enjoy the new entries. We have a lot of those, actually. We were able to cut lots of cool little clips. So hopefully, if you guys will enjoy those throughout the next few weeks and years and etc., depending on how long everyone tolerates me. Jeff, you, sir, are becoming a regular. This is what they call a CST streak, my friend. Episode after episode, you have been here. How on earth have you managed to pull off this many free Monday nights?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm really, playing with house money right now. You're talking about Weston McKennie, getting his jersey. He's number 8 on the U.S. team. I'm wearing a number 8 jersey right now. Luckily, it's Deuce. It's Dempsey's jersey, so it should be okay. I'm hoping it doesn't, it's not bad juju for anything. But can you believe, though, now that with Miami coming in, Miami has 2 wins in Cincinnati this year. We have 0. Cincinnati, though, has 2 wins in Florida. Go figure. It doesn't make any sense. Of course, both of the games they played in Florida were against Canadian teams, so I don't know if that counts or not.
Well, you brought it up. That is an interesting. I did not know about the Florida points. Are you sure? Are you 100% sure? I know about their 6 points here to
Montreal.
our 5 points.
Montreal was in Fort Lauderdale, and Toronto was in Orlando.
All right.
See, yeah, this is why we have you on. That and your amazing hangers in the shot there.
Oh, jeez.
Before we get rolling too far, though, tonight's episode is brought to you by Swerox. Swerox is a delicious fruit-flavored electrolyte beverage, supercharged with ions for fast rehydration. And that is kind of the end of my script, because the marketing department over at Swerox decided, instead of giving us pre-packaged words, they sent our host their product and said, hey, try it, which is cool and unexpected. So we did. And let me tell you, I was impressed. I know you can pick up their orders at like Walmart and Amazon. But Jeff, I think you gave the best trial out of all of us, because didn't you run like 11 miles or something?
Yeah, we ran this one through the ringer to test it out. Basically, I'm prepping for the half marathon in October. I tend to need something along the way. We only have really one area where we can refuel. So I just took the grape Swerox and put that into my my running bottle. Was pretty good during it, but the orange really hit the spot afterwards for recovery. It's really good. It feels like a really good adult Pedialyte. It went down smooth. It wasn't overly sweet. It doesn't have that sugar, so it really went down smooth. And that's one of the best things I like about recovery drinks.
There you go. You heard it from the man.
I'm just offended you didn't think my pre-usage of Swerox before consuming copious amounts of alcohol warranted the first ever product ad placement.
I'm not sure that's the product ad placement they want. Is Brian Weigel got hammered and tried it.
Made me feel great. I drank beforehand. I drank the Swerox beforehand. That strawberry kiwi, baby.
There you go. All right, guys. Your best and worst on the week. It is tradition on this show. And Brian, you were the last one in today, so I feel like you're the least prepared. So I want to throw it to you just to see if we can catch you off guard.
Yeah, no. When you're chasing three hoodlums around the house and the park and the pool all day, yeah, the three kids, gotta love them. No, I would have to say my best of the week was actually playing Isaac Atanga out on the right, even though he still wasn't in his normal wing role. He was kind of that wing back where he was on the right. Barrial was on that left wing back role. So just having Isaac out there, he looked dangerous. Wish he wouldn't have come off super early, but hey, y'all been asking for subs. And also to go with that best is Jaap Stam actually trying different things to spark some success within FC Cincinnati. Now, my worst of the week was that stuff he tried really didn't work. So, touche. But yeah. We would hope that we'd be able to get 3 points out of a bottom tier Miami side who has a lot of old players, who relies on Breck Shea somehow. So at this point we couldn't get 3, and I think we're all banging that drum of where's our future reside. But at least we're still trying to pull different levers to get things to maybe play out to gain some positive momentum going into the end of the season.
There's nothing more painful than being scored on from a guy from 1970 that got lost in 2021. Absolutely painful. What do you think, Jeff? Best and worst?
In the past, I've always started with the worst, but apparently that's not working. So let's start with the best. I will go on that Jaap Stam sort of trying new things and specify that, putting the back three there, Viacia, Cameron, and Hags looked pretty decent in the back there. I thought that Viacia was rattled a little bit at the end of the Columbus game. That last goal was really off of him. So to have him bounce back and get that man of the match award, he looked really good. The only real thing that happened was that the self-destruction came from one of Jaap's substitutions, and Calvin Harris, good to see him back, by the way. He was left sort of high and dry defending Breck Shea, and that's what happened. The worst is sort of twofold. It's another loss. FCC is in the midst of a 12-game winless streak, which is another team record, unfortunately. The only reason that they probably aren't getting as much press is that there are teams out there that are worse than them at this time, and I'll get on that later on. But also, my fiance loves Skyline. She went up to go get she went up to get a phony coney from the concession stand, and they looked at her as if she had 15 heads.
What?
They're like, "What's a phony coney?"
I don't know what a phony coney is.
What? Are you mental?
Get him off here. Get him off this show. It's a phony coney. It's a cheese coney without the hot dog.
Yeah, it was that simple.
That's when I feel a little full going into Skyline, that's what I order.
Yeah.
Wouldn't without the bread be a lot better if you're full than the
Well, you can also call it like a chili cheese
I
sandwich.
don't know. It would just be like a
cheese
pile
sandwich,
of
there you
mess
go.
without the bread.
But they were like, we don't know what that is, and so
Sometimes you got to eat it with the fork, though.
yeah. But that was I think I'd put that in as like 1A for the worst of the week.
If our host only knew, if he wasn't from where are you from, Tennessee? You're from 18 different places.
Well, sorry guys. I guess that's the worst thing about me, huh?
We still love you.
You know, my worst actually is food related too, so I'm going to go there. The pretzels at TQL Stadium still suck. They still do. You thought you think the concession people are listening to this show and they would change the menu? They have not yet. I actually did not buy one because I'm scared, but I walked up to a guy and he was eating a pretzel and I said, "How is that? I've heard they're terrible." And he looked at me, didn't say a word, just looked at me with a face of pure pain and disappointment. And then he walked off. So either I did that to him or that pretzel did that to him. Either way, it wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good time for him.
You underestimate how good and how consistent a super pretzel brand pretzel is. It's just like McDonald's hamburger. Not the best thing in the world, but it's consistent.
Even if you go pre-gaming at Sam Adams Tap Room, they have some really good pretzels there.
Yeah, I do not get a pretzel.
Sam Adams.
Yeah, the other weird thing is Brad Weigel, your brother, gave me a parking pass, and I was grateful because of the weather, the rain.
Okay.
But
What location?
it's right next to the stadium.
Okay, because they just switched everybody's parking around, I think.
Oh,
right?
did they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We were under the stadium. Now we're next to it.
Okay, yeah, it's next to it. But I will say that I'm a person that walks like forever far away on a normal day. One, because I need to burn off some calories. And two, because I can't stand to sit in traffic. Like I would much rather walk and then just jump on the interstate and be closer. And so I gave the close parking thing, and only because of the weather, and I wanted to appease the wife. Thank you, Brad, but I'm never doing that again. Holy cow.
It takes you 45 minutes to get out.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So this is exactly why I do not park close to the stadium. Park away, jump on the interstate, be home.
Parking close to the stadium is good if you don't plan to be leaving right away from the stadium.
Or if you plan to leave right away. Like, so you either get down there like before the main exodus gets out, like you leave like right at the whistle or 2 minutes before the whistle, or you wait because they're going to hold you. We used to park underneath the stadium, and it was convenient. Getting out took 45 minutes.
Yep. So I guess I'll switch to my best since I'm really dragging this out. But seeing the stadium at night for once, how many times have we shown up and it's still light outside? And so you can kind of tell the lights work. But this was the first time I walked up and saw an actual stadium glowing. Pretty cool. Definitely more pretty than in the day. So with the weather and the performance by the team, the stadium also had a lighter crowd. So the entire match day experience overall seemed to flow a lot better. Unfortunately, that's just because of those two things. But overall, I give it a 4 out of 5 for experience this last round.
I would, love to give an experience, but I wasn't there. But I know that my niece and nephew were there, and this is kind of part of the reason why I love still having our club around in Major League Soccer, for that matter. I know some people are saying, "Hey, we're still, best. We're still in Major League Soccer club." Is that, they're literally there. My niece and nephews who are, 5 and 7, whatever they are. I'm going to get yelled at. 5 and 9, maybe. They're able to experience something that they're going to be able to pass down to their kids. I love like that first moment when these little kids walk in, they're like, "Holy cow, this place is cool." So, hearing all that stuff and seeing all the photos, it's pretty neat. So
it was nice. It was also nice to, getting on that, teaching my niece what a yellow card was and having her lift it up every time there was a foul.
Was she in the Bailey?
No, this was in our regular seats. But, teaching her that what he did was a yellow card, and she just lifted up the entire time.
Just wait till she lifts up the other thing one day.
She's probably not that far from there.
Read between the lines, ref. Read between the lines.
Brian, before you make this show harder for me to
steer
edit, why don't you jump to our patrons?
Oh, yes. So considering our new great host here, put the guy who had 1,000 different ways to say Albadawi in charge of sponsors name, or not sponsors names, but you grade our supporters names. So as you know, with everything, we've switched to a Patreon, just with Nick's moving out, and it just a little bit more easier for all of us to deal with the financials of putting on a show and buying Boston a new mic, hopefully for next week. So we rely on a lot of your support, and thank you. So as I said, our show is by and large supported by the fans. We do get some sponsors, as you see now, but a lot of it is due to y'all. So I wanted to thank all of you guys who have been a part of this. A special shout out to everyone who signed up on our Patreon so far. We got Ree Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Matthew Long, Robert Stevenson, Laurel Failer, Matt Adamchick, Buddy Taylor, Riley Stephen Burke, James DeBow, Tom Niehaus, yours truly, Brian Weigel, whoop whoop, Brian Giles, Dan Alberts, William Kiltick, Ian Rexroad, Augustin Caceres, Bill Antonides. Bill, you're going to have to help me there. Send in a thing for me. Carl Fight. And then special thank you to our week's newest Patreon supporters, Jeremy Schrand, Kyle Pohl, Christina Schwarma, and Rupesh. So thank you all so much. Go to cincinnatissoccertalk.com/support. And I promise you, I will pronounce your name different every week. Thank you guys so much.
I went through that pain last week. That's why I 100% just threw you under a bus right there. Our supporters are awesome, but they do not have names like Kyle, Scott.
I'm going to have to really, Bill Antonidia. God, I want to say like Antoninus because I'm a Catholic school kid. Bill, you're going to have to help me out there, buddy.
Well, this week we do have a rundown for you. We are going to discuss FC Cincinnati dropping points in the final minutes, unfortunately. Had some players out weirdly with sickness and trying to figure out what's going to go down next week as far as who we're going to have, who we're not going to have. 2021 battle for the wooden spoon is still on. I think probably the Twitter segment, everyone's talking about it, to Stam or not to Stam. And then we have a whole bunch of mixed items to get to if you guys don't talk too much. So first up, we have some post-match audio. So, like, real quick, I want to jump to Jaap Stam because I think he has a little bit of. I found this a little bit surprising, but it was kind of discouraging as far as what's coming in, what's not coming in. So we'll jump to Jaap here first.
We cannot bring more players in because there's nothing to give out. So that's why that's the ongoing discussion for us. That's why we're looking for free agent players as well. And the guys that came in, they're working very hard. They show what they can do. They've got a quality as well. But well, you know as best, you guys, the situation and how it was.
So there you have it. Jaap saying, we're not getting any help, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've made mention that the roster build by our previous general manager was a farce and no quality backups. But then I think you also had to put on, I mean, the guy, Jaap Stam, doesn't really have a lot of trust throughout this whole roster. So I don't know if I buy that whole spiel, but I think we do agree that there is year 7 coming up or however many this is. And this is going to be literally our 7th re-roster build.
Yeah. Part of me is okay with it because we've been throwing pieces at this team pretty much all season. I mean, there hasn't been a month that's gone by we haven't added a player or shipped one out. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's probably time just to let the pieces lie where they lay and try to finish out the year and then see where we go from here.
I mean, okay, so we were like linked to another Brazilian. I think the guys at the Post, you guys can correct me with the name and everything, but we were linked with a Brazilian. I'm going to assume he wasn't a inexpensive player. I don't think we saddle Jaap Stam or FC Cincinnati with any pieces that can't be easily moved. Like this whole Kenneth Vermeer thing, like Laurel even put in her story this week, like, yeah, he's cheap this year, but next year we're going to be absolutely screwed with this contract. So,
right.
We can't keep making those types of moves. I'm a lot more sympathetic for a young American who can likely be moved, but an international piece tied up. I don't even think do we even have any international spots available. So it's just challenging there.
Well, he's talking about, of course, the match where FC Cincinnati dropped 3 points to Miami. Did you guys? I mean, this one was slow. This one was really Miami let Cincinnati play our game, and they were just happy to kind of let that pace go really, really slow. I heard a lot of fans calling it boring, upsettingly so. So was FC Cincinnati playing for a win, or were they playing for a home draw? Was this a safe bet by Stam?
It's hard to say if they were what they were playing for. Looking at sort of the lineups, I think both teams shared the same type of formation, a 3-5-2. And when those types of games happen, it almost feels like, they're both pushing with the same force. You're not really, you're on the precipice of going nowhere. And that's what it felt like. It felt like there was only 3 actual shots on goal. One of them you really can't say was a shot because it was way from the side by Atanga. So really there wasn't much on frame in this game. I'd say they were trying to play not to be embarrassed, and unfortunately they failed that in the end.
Okay, so I disagree with your question a little bit, Boston, because you always go out there to win at home. I feel like, especially versus a team like Miami.
You're supposed to. I just got the impression.
Yeah, I mean, but how much have they been practicing with Atanga and Barreal in those roles?
Fair enough.
And how we got Meduna in the midfield, we're missing Moderita. So I mean, this is a backup's backup plan, and I think it was just kind of say, hey, we've thrown how many things at the wall? Throw noodles when you're done cooking. Throw noodles at the wall, see if one sticks, and if it's ready, and it's not here yet. So I do think that while I'm not happy with the result, I still am very happy that we're trying things like that. Like, I don't think it's a give up. And I know we're going to talk about this later on, to stop or not to stop. This, to me, this is a reason why we keep Stam, because he's going to keep trying these little things and trying to see, okay, can Atanga excel in this role? Can Barreal excel in this role? We saw Barreal this week didn't really get up the field very well in his normal. Normally he's very confident going forward. I think he was more worried about his mentality of getting back and not being caught out. So I think there's a lot of things like that you can kind of dive down the weeds, especially with Coach's show this week.
Yeah, we got an email actually into feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Thanks. We love it when you guys do this, by the way. Tom Stepp sent in. He said he'd like to offer his thoughts on the Miami game. Ends with a question, which is more like a 4 or 5 parter, but we're going to talk about this first part because it relates. A team that has no true left or right backs available. So they decided to play 2 20-year-old wing backs, Atanga and Barreal, so he's talking about.
Expensive wing backs.
Yeah, who are probably playing the positions for their first time professionally. When you first saw the roster, you thought, okay, he's playing the same exact thing. And then you go, wait a minute. Where are the right back? Where's the left back? So what do you think overall of the performance? Because this was new for those guys. Come on, Jeff. Give me your thoughts.
He's used to me.
I mean, it felt like Miami was daring us to beat us with this brand new experiment with the 3-5-2. And I think because of that, they were comfortable waiting an entire half to see, to let us stub our toe. And then once the second half started up, they started to bring in they substituted less than us, which is unbelievable, but they brought in the right pieces. They brought in Robbie Robertson to sort of give a little bit more youth. And so I think they were daring us to beat them with this experiment. And once I think it got to the 75th, 85th minute, Miami realized they're not going to beat us. Let's hit them in the mouth. And they managed to do it.
To tell you what impressed me about it, though, was that we did a press with it. FC Cincinnati went ahead and tried to catch Miami off, and they did. They did many times get those turnovers. They didn't do a whole lot with them, but they created turnovers, and I think Miami was caught off guard. And doing 2 players out of position, brand new player, out of position. Barreal looked very uncomfortable in the first half. And then the team looked uncomfortable with him being in that role, more so the first half. He was at times on an island. A guy next to me in the stadium said, "Hey, look, it's Justin Hoyt," because of how open he was at times, which is kind of cool, but no one would serve that into him. And then I think I saw Coach Goff say that it looked like Miami was almost daring them to play that side. Like they had kind of a plan. So instead they started doing these like over the top balls to Atanga, which impressed. I honestly thought one of those was going to land. It didn't, but he got close on a couple of those balls.
I think a guy who's dangerous in space, he's good taking 1v1 opportunities. Outside, if you're going to force him to play inside, I get a little nervous. But I think that's what his MO was. Get him out into space, let him run at people, and he's going to have chances. So he's going to fail quite a bit, but he's also going to have that, plays like he did last week. So, I really want to keep seeing him more up top on that right side and put Barriel back on the left, even though Barriel's been very good on the right. With our pieces that we got right now, and to Stam's point earlier, nobody else is coming in. So let's switch things up there.
If anything, I would say that what really bit us in the end was while our wingers were inexperienced in their positions, when they were replaced, that's when the inexperience was amplified. Yeah. But Calvin Harris is not used to playing right back there. And he was the one that was sort of left on the island trying to defend Breck Shea with a looping pass that beat everybody. And he was out of position. He was not used to being back that far. And so I wouldn't say that Barriel and Atanga on the wing backs hurt us. I think the substitution of them hurt us.
For all future new signings in the defensive front, the barometer for success needs to be, can you defend 1v1 Breck Shea? If you can, great, you're on the team. If you can't, sorry, you're gone.
I like that. That's a good bar. I saw a comment that I kind of wondered about. Then I went through and I started watching the post-match stuff, and Hagglund addresses it. So one of the big things I saw on Twitter, on Reddit, a big concern out there about whether the locker room is divided, the team has, the right motivation, the spirits, are they broken? Is all of these losses piling on? So I'm going to throw it to Nick Hags, who I think had a good response.
Just about executing. I think we have the bones to do the right things. I feel like we've been in games where maybe the game's tied 0-0 and we should have scored or should have won. The number of games that we dropped points, when we're up a man or whatever, it could be anywhere upwards 9 to 10 points, which is a big jump in the board. If you don't get those points, that's what happens. So I feel like this is MLS. Like, this is a league of parity. Anything can happen. I think of the 2016 Seattle Sounders that won maybe 2 games halfway through the season and then rattled off 10 at the end. Why can't we be one of those teams? I think we just need to get that momentum. I really feel that once we score, that the floodgates are going to open for us. I think it's just a confidence thing. I think it's sticking together through these hard times. If we don't stick together, it's going to be tough, and we have to, look each other in the face and own what we're doing.
Once they score, the floodgates will open, Brian. They could be the Seattle Sounders. Do you think? Does that sound like the spirit of a man that's broken?
It's naive. Buddy, I love Nick. God, you're such a good guy. No, I just can't. There's no way we're ever going to be that. We don't have a 10 that's good enough to be a Ladero, and don't have enough of the other quality pieces. So I'm proud of the guy getting on that stage. I do think, and we're going to say it here in a little bit, is the team in a better mental situation under Stam or under a future interim coach? I think at this point, I think it's Jaap Stam. So,
I mean,
and you really want to get to that segment.
Do
he's not wrong in saying that it's a league of parity. There's definitely, we've seen games where DC United is beating Philadelphia. We're seeing games where Orlando is winding up, it was drawing against us at home. The problem is, though, I look at FC Cincinnati's upcoming schedule. It does not look good. Yeah, you're playing Toronto next game, but then you've got home and away against Atlanta. You've got home and away against Philadelphia. You've got more games against another game against Nashville, who's hotter than heck right now. So I don't see us being able to pull off what Nicky Haggs is trying to suggest there.
I mean, I don't know if he says, if he actually means we're going to be in the playoffs, if he's trying to be a leader and trying to put stuff out there.
He's saying, why not us? Why can't we put it together?
We can still put things together. I just don't think it's going to be to that extent.
Right.
Could it be a point to 1.2 points a game? I mean, I guess that's putting things together in a very positive way for FC Cincinnati. I think that's possible. We do need to finish, but again, we're relying on 3 very, very young scorers up top with Barrial, Tonga, and Brenner. Yes, Brenner's a $15 million player, but they're still super young in this league, and we don't have the quality roster build that I think that Seattle or those teams had. So again, it's a long discussion of bad GM management.
And he mentions also that they have the bones for it. Well, yeah, you have the bones. Well, let me expound on that. You have bones, but if you have bones and don't give it the right nutrients, the right calcium to keep them operating for long periods of time, for loads that they're not used to, then those bones are really useless. So yeah, they've got bones, but they don't have the ways to get new bones into place.
I thought you were going to go with they drank all their Swerox, a quarter of the way into the season. Now they're just drained.
It does have calcium in it.
Well, Stam did go for the fans that wanted subs. We got 4. We got them in the pairs of twins. Double trouble subs is what I like to call them. The first batch coming in the 75th minute, and then the second one in the 80th at some point, 82nd, 83rd, somewhere in there. This time the sub off did lead to the goal for Miami. And we did finally get what we wanted, which was some new players. So do you regret asking for change? I still don't, but I think I saw some fans saying, "Well, what? Of course he sub, and then we have the problem." But I think really when you play Harris in that position, he's not 100% used to it either, and he's young, and he's going to make mistakes, and it just happened to be in 1-0-0 game. But he got way, way too far off his guy, and then kind of left Shea over there on an island. And how about that Kenneth Vermeer dive, though, huh? He dived before the ball even left the foot. Did you guys notice that? I mean, I don't think Vermeer could have saved it. It was already
Matt Doyle, everybody.
At that point of the game, you just flip a coin. If he saves that, you're suddenly a hero. Where it's a 0-0 draw, yes, but you made the save of the game. You left something memorable and good in your mouth. But it's the bad. The tails came up when you guessed heads.
Yeah, I don't even think it's one of those things where you can say who was wrong, like Harris or Vermeer. I think it's definitely Harris's. Like Harris was out of position. Blaming Vermeer for it is, I mean, you could try to say he should have made his body bigger, but I mean, you left your keeper out stranded there. So I think that's one of those that's kind of hard to blame the keeper for overall. Either way, I still think you play the kids. I still think at this point in the season, you're trying to do 2 goals. You're trying to stay out of the wooden spoon race just for to have something to fight for there, and then give the fans something. They don't want to finish in last, but you also need to figure out what you got for this roster next year. We keep talking about doing a segment that, like, who would you keep, who would you take, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna do it. There's a lot of contract stuff we're still trying to figure out as far as the logistics of all that, but it'll be interesting. We did have some weirdness going on, Bri. Did you notice that some of us were expecting a Kyle Scott appearance? Some of us were expecting
goddamn COVID protocols. And
they said non-COVID illness.
Yeah.
So
Castillo also had a similar thing, though.
And hey, man, if they got little kids, I completely understand how that works.
It could be easily something like that. Today, they were both at practice. Kyle Scott and Castillo were away from the other starters, but training. So they're obviously well enough to be out there. Just I think a precaution in that sense. Ben Lunt, not in the 18. Is that good or bad, Jeff?
I'll say bad. I wanted to see him at least be a backup. If you're not going to depend on TD to sort of be ready for games, if he's your backup, I would rather have Lunt being your backup for an emergency, and then rotating TD and Vermeer as your starting goalkeeper.
And then we had Blackett in training today. So there you go. Another bit of optimism for Toronto. If
there's your new left back now.
There you go. And Mata played for, he played against Mexico, right? Costa Rica versus Mexico. Anybody watch that game?
No.
I think it was going on at the same as the U.S. game.
Yeah, I watched the highlights, and apparently he played really well. Mexico won 1-0, but that was to be expected. But honestly, I actually expected it to be a lot worse. So 1-0, Matarrita put up a good fight from what I hear. So I think that's one of those I want to go back and watch. That's it, though, on our player news. Let's talk Wooden Spoon. Is this week do or die for FC Cincinnati? What do you guys think?
Always must win, baby. Always must win. Always must win. For gosh sakes. No, it's just one of these things. I mean, we got to show our supporters something, man. We have to. So, yes, you got to win out there, man. I mean, new GM's probably going to be here hopefully in the next week or two. And, yeah, we got to show something.
I think so too. Honestly, I think it's your best shot. It's your best shot at giving the fans a home win. I'm actually bringing people to this one because
why would you do that?
Because I think this is the one. I thought I have a whole winning thing planned on this show, so we really need to make it happen. All right, Jeff, is it must win for you?
I'm going to say it's not yet must win because it would be nice for a result. We're facing Toronto twice in the next month, home and away. I won't say it's must win yet because I'm going to throw a wild card out there, and I'm going to say that Houston is going to get the wooden spoon.
Ooh.
Houston, I believe, is not lost, but they're winless in 16 straight games. The MLS record for that is 19 straight games.
Who has that? Who has that record?
Those are the 99 Metro Stars of New York City.
Well, thank God it's not us.
For sure.
Finally, a absolute crappy award that we didn't win.
All right.
You take a look at what Houston's got on their on their lineup. They've playing Austin FC, so it could easily end this next week. But they've got a home and away against the Galaxy. They're going to be facing Sporting Kansas City, Seattle. They're going to have to travel all the way up to Montreal for their west-east clash. I have a feeling that they will have the wooden spoon at the end of the season.
Toronto is not in good shape, guys. I think they are at 3 wins, exactly the same as us. They have a better expected goals. They've landed way more that they were supposed to land. I think that's their only edge on FC Cincinnati. However, that's because their shots taken column is way below ours. So FC Cincinnati gets on frame a lot more than Toronto. Toronto has made more of the shots they should have made. Vegas is saying it's us. I mean, that's a lot of money. There's money on the game. Would you bet on us?
Never.
Vegas would.
No. I think Toronto FC's academy, their TFC 2 is catching up to them. They weren't that good in USL. They weren't that good in USL 1. I think that's starting to catch up to them, and they're not producing as much talent as they used to. And that gives us the shot.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, who's going to make it back for this match. Because I guess they have Richie Larea, who should be coming back. So we'll see. But I just don't see us pulling 3 points because we're never going to do it again. Oh,
well, Brian, I'm going to give you your topic, man.
Yes.
I made you wait a while. To Stam or not to Stam, we've heard the talk. A lot of pros. Honestly, there's been a lot of pros on Twitter this week just because there's this whole view out there of it doesn't matter. Wait till the GM's here. That's what matters. And then there's this whole other side of, you're right, it doesn't matter. Let him go.
Yeah.
And then because Johan DeMay can do exactly what Stam's doing, which is nothing. So, I mean, that's what people are saying. I would never.
Counterpoint.
We have debated amongst the CST staff. I know you guys have different views. We want to get an article out as well, just to make it a little bit more clear than podcast version. So keep an eye out for that. But first, I guess I have to go with Bry. Give me your opinion, man.
So counterpoint, I think the pro Stam crowd is just louder at this point because the Stam out crowd has been shouting this for like 3 months. So props to Kevin Wallace leading that movement. So I am a pro Stam for the moment, wearing my Yop Stam Strikes Back shirt. Yeah, that really panned out well. With Yop, I truly feel that the group, even though they still don't look very, I would say, gelled together on the field right now, I feel like there's like, you see Cameron going after guys and you see lapses and breakdowns. I still feel like Yop can command the locker room versus I don't know what's going to happen in that locker room when Johan or I mean, it could be Johan, it could be somebody else. It could be, oh shoot, what's his name? The other assistant guy came over with Yop. Killing me right now. It could be anybody else, but I feel like Yop is a guy who, if he needs to pull in Cameron or he needs to pull in any of these other guys and say, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Plus, I think he can manage the younger players probably a little bit more capably than Johan could. So I'm in that Yop Stam. Thank you, Side Bacati. I'm in that Yop Stam still, but once we hire a new GM, hopefully soon, if he doesn't if he doesn't follow every single instruction to the letter of that new GM, I want his butt gone. I want you to give him a check, take his badge, see you later. Because we need him to execute for the future. Yes, we need to know what we have now, but we need to execute that mission. It needs to begin that day that new GM gets here. So Stam in for right now.
Yeah, but think of all the cool like movie trilogies we could make if we had the return of Johan Demay for the third time. You could play off every movie that's had threes. You go to Star Wars, you go to Toy Story. I want to see what the supporter banners would be. You could have a lot of fun with the return of Johan Demay.
I mean, did Demay really have that great of a winning record, though? I mean, he had that great game versus Montreal, but I would rather have Yop Stam just because I feel like he can wrangle that group better at this moment.
So
and that's an opinion. That's not a fact. That's an opinion. I haven't talked to the other players. Yeah.
But are you? And I think I've seen this as a big question mark. Are you pro GM making the decision versus Jeff Birding making the decision?
I don't see how it would be made any other way.
So let the new guy come in,
mm-hmm.
and then he decides Yop's fate.
He or she should decide exactly how Yop Stam's performance goes. If that general manager wants to decide the starting 11, I am perfectly fine with that for the rest of this year. Is that something I want for the remainder of this person's tenure? No, but for right now, that's how I would like to see it.
All right, Jeff, are you pro, or you Stam out?
Brian's made some pretty good convincing arguments there. I will start by saying that if Stam is gone, the reins probably won't go to his assistant manager because was it Saeed Bakati?
So he stayed at Feyenoord after Yop left.
Okay, then if that's the case, if the plan is in place where Yop is gone and Saeed, I hope I'm saying his name right, is following up as the interim manager for the rest of the season, then I'm okay. I am on the Yop out. It's been frustrating for me just going to my seat, watching a game, watching us lose really late, no matter what's done. And it feels like madness going on over and over again. And I don't know how many of these I can take in a row. He's going to be eventually gone by the end of the season, in my opinion, whether it's of his own volition, whether it's the GM saying, nope, we don't need you. He's not going to be our manager for 2022. If that's the case, I would rather have him leave now and see what happens when different choices are made. It's tough. I mean, Brian is actually talking me back off of the ledge right now, but I am a tentative Yop out.
Okay,
I'll talk
so
you back on the ledge if you want.
there's very few ways the ownership group can make a statement to the fans that this is not acceptable. There's very few ways outside of firing up Stam, that is. So how do they make that statement? We want to hear from you, Jeff. So if you want to call in next week. No,
No, you're right. Ticket sales are a big thing right now. They are going into renewals, and that GM firing is old news. And unless they bring one in to say, "Hey, here's the fix," or just say, "Here's who we have to be the fix." I mean, that's a big topic. We haven't talked about it on this show. I've seen some comments. Clifford Adams has been asking, "Why don't we talk about the new GM?" Because sadly, all that news is still locked behind closed doors, and I want to say that's good actually if it's progress, but they have to convince you to buy season ticket holder, to buy season tickets again. So is Jaap Stam the sacrificial goat just to make the fans think there's progress here? Otherwise, you have to say, hey, we're gonna hire a new GM. Hey, we're gonna figure out the coach thing. Trust us. But we've already used trust us as an excuse for 3 years. That's my biggest problem with the whole thing. I mean, I think you toss Yam to the Wolves to sell season tickets. You wait till they come out.
I love this comment from Clifford. Someone calling me to renew without that new GM signed is going to need therapy after our call. That is truth. That is truth. I'm just going to use my Biden bucks anyway, so it doesn't matter for me. But yeah, there's something's going to have to be done. I don't know.
All I can say is that after this past game, the boos were palpable. I know.
Yeah. Okay. I kept hearing about that. So was it, you get, so first off, I got yelled at on social media like 2 months ago saying,
yeah, you were 2 months too early. We were all still like hoping things could turn around, Brian. No one wanted to hear
booing our players. People were absolutely booing. I was right. You guys, I know you had some fun in your section, Boston.
Yeah, I had people straight up fighting in my section because losing sucks, and you just see it. You see it dissolve. You kind of see some fans just dissolving on you. When you win, it's a party. When you lose and you're drunk, you get mad at the guy next to you, even though he's your fellow FC Cincinnati fan. So this is actually Ken Hedger's fault. He's not on the show. I can throw him under the bus. Ken couldn't make it to the game. He had a flight situation. So what does he do? He takes his tickets. He throws them on StubHub or SeatGeek or whatever. The people that bought them, I know they're Ken's because they sat there, and then they got in a first. The fight was about running out of Sam Adams. By the way, did you know Sam Adams is good enough to fight over it? So the last Sam Adams is taken, and the section kind of dissolves. And then when that goal goes in, this guy at the top of my section decides he alone is going to make Calvin Harris pay for giving up that goal, and just absolutely starts chewing into Calvin Harris. I mean, Calvin had to hear him because he's right there next to us. And this guy just goes off for 5 straight minutes till finally the guy that was already mad about the Sam Adams gets up and just starts chewing him out like, shut up, dude. And then it just became like your classic Bengals game, like yell match there for a bit.
How do we not have any video of this, Boston?
To be honest, it wasn't as exciting as, but I did hear like there were some other problems at the stadium. To me, it's just what happens when you lose and you lose and you lose. I mean, why are Bengal fans so mad all the time? It's because they've watched 12 years of losses. So we hopefully don't have to see FC Cincinnati come to that. Hopefully we just put a nip in the bud here in year 3. But that's what I'm talking about. You gotta win. You got to give the fans something. No home wins. It's the dissolving. That's what I mean. Jaap Stam is the coach. He's the one that's not giving us what we need. So if he's got to be sacrificed to sell some tickets, then I think you sacrifice him. Just my take.
It's frustrating just because of how the last 2 losses have occurred. I mean, one to your rival within shouting distance of the end of the game, and the other one right at the end of the game practically. It's hard to react any other way than to lower your head or yell at the guy next to you. It's frustrating. It's once again, it's not the end of the world because teams are still doing worse than we are, but it's the definition of madness. And I don't know how you can resolve that without looking at the coach and saying, you have to be the one to go.
Yeah. Well, just if you're a listening fan, don't take it out on your fellow FC Cincinnati fans, no matter how many Sam Adams or
take it
Ryan
out
Geist or whatever.
Take it out on your favorite podcast host. So
that's right.
Blow up
right.
Boston on Twitter and tell him how good his hair looks.
Feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. You guys wouldn't let me yell in the stand, so here's my thoughts, and then we'll read them on the air with bleeps.
I'm gonna get a text message from Kana in like I don't know, like 5 hours, being like, Brian, they just killed Boston, and I can't believe you said that.
You missed the world's greatest insult. Somebody had a really good one on the show one time. Were you on the episode where they said FC Cincinnati's receding as fast as Boston's hairline? Like it came in on a comment. I was like, "Ooh,
look
that's
at
brutal.
This.
That's
look
brutal."
At this up here. I'm losing it, man. Every day I am.
All I know is I got a haircut and this past weekend, and the person doing the hair was like, "Yeah, you got this really bad white hair," and it's like, "Oh, I know what that one's from. Get rid of it." So,
well, FC Cincinnati is tied for last in goal generation. If that doesn't improve, that will be 3 years in a row. Very little attack, which I do find surprising with the amount of money FC Cincinnati spends. I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say it doesn't happen this year, and it will not happen for sure next year, even if it did happen this year. I think next year we have some of this a little bit more gelling come into place, even if we keep a lot of these guys like Brenner. U.S. men's national team game. You heard anything about tickets? I keep getting the question. Brian, you're the expert. You're like the U.S. men expert.
Didn't they say like a week ago? They said we're supposed to get. I actually checked my U.S. Insider account today to see if I could do it, but no, it doesn't look like it's there yet. So got my women's tickets right away, and much cheaper, by the way. It was like $40 in my section for every, and like if you just logged on generally, it's like $60 to $200. I'm like, ha ha ha! So save some money. Cash money.
Does the equal pay argument work in reverse? Can we say we should get equal price tickets?
Oh, I'll tell you what, I am very impressed with Cincinnati so far. Just looking on Ticketmaster for how few tickets are left. I don't know if they're not released or what, but so far I think we're going to have a pretty strong crowd.
I mean, you're bringing back Rose Lavelle. You're bringing Carly Lloyd in her final matches
tour. Yep.
And I think you also want to see, how does this team bounce back after their experiences in the Olympics? Do they have youth to present to the crowd and say, yes, this is our next generation, and we're gonna, these are the names that you need to know.
Yep. The U.S. men, of course, played this weekend.
Did they?
Did they?
They did. No Weston McKennie. Big bummer. Apparently did something stupid. I haven't heard exactly what he did, but I just know he did something stupid.
I think there's some details that I think if you listen like Grant Wall's podcast with Landon Donovan, there's a little bit more detail that comes out of it. I think Donovan might have had a few words to talk about what Weston McKennie's, what he did and how he should present himself as a U.S. Men's national team, leader, how he should act in these cases. I'm going to listen to it tomorrow to see exactly what's said on that.
Cool. Uh-oh. Looks like Boston Razzle Dazzle's microphone finally crapped for this episode. So if you're here, tap me twice, Boston.
I think you sabotage his microphone.
Yeah, no. All right. So I guess let's kind of keep rolling here. I know Boston put in our show notes here about who are you keeping from Andrew J 281995. So he listed some people on Reddit of who are you keeping and who are you dumping. I guess people that might have some options that we are to get rid of are Alvaro Barreal, Alan Cruz, Gustavo Viacia, his loan, Joe Zhao, Nick Hagglund, Vanderwerth, Chris Duval, Caleb Stanko, Brandon Vasquez, Harris Medunin, Shema Swaftiton, Edgar Castillo, Zico Bailey, and then a bunch of young kids. So I'll tell you what, we're not going to go into that whole list today. Is there any clear cut on that group that you are keeping and or dumping?
Teton for sure.
Oh, there he is.
He's back. He's
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. I want the whole goalkeeper. I want the whole goalkeeper situation changed around. And here's the problem.
You're dumping Teton.
Yeah, and if I can get out of Amir, but I don't think we can.
No. Well, you can buy him out.
Yeah, well, I'm not a big fan of the buyout. By the way, if you're listening, fans, buyout is not a tool in the arsenal that you can just use. Like, yes, you have one buyout a year, but it is like out of Carl Linder's pocket. And you basically have to, like, I think that's a point where Jeff Birding goes to Carl Linder and says, I screwed up, our GM screwed up, our coach screwed up so bad, we need you to reach into your pocket and grab $2 million and throw it out there. Like, so imagine if you had to go to your boss and ask for a $1 to $2 million screw up thing. Like, it's not going to happen unless they have to. They did it with
Fernando Adi was an outlier. I think this
Right.
would be more like what, $300 or $400 for, or actually, well, how much was Vermeer? Like 800 grand? I can't remember the whole thing. I'm sure somebody will correct me on here, but
still, that's like completely out of our owner's pocket. Like, it's not it's not a tool you want to use. It's complete loss. And that player can go to another team. There's a lot of consequences with it. I just think that the team is more likely to eat the money, kind of like what we're doing with Mkocho right now, which, by the way, dude, hit the field. How'd we not talk about that?
He hit the field, but he only touched the ball 4 times, I think.
I thought, you know who should have been on the show? Ken Hedger, because he would have been jumping for joy that we finally, our $1 million player got 4 touches on the ball.
yeah, I think Mkocho, he's back. So, I mean, like, legitimately, we were just talking about buyout. So you're going to have $506,000 or whatever Spot Trek had, or you're going to have $1 million plus for Mkocho if you really want a lot of flexibility there. So that's going to be something that I'm interested to see what the GM thinks. With Kamahela Mkocho is RD Kraft said, where does he stand? So, I think he's on that chopping block. Would you rather have $1 million and a TAM player there with Mkocho, or do you want a $500,000 or more, depending on bonuses for Vermeer? Who do you keep? Who do you kick off, Jeff?
I want to give him a shot. I want to give Vasquez a shot at being a starter and seeing if we can get. I mentioned this last week. See if we can give Brenner a spell and have him come on as a sub. And because of that, if Vasquez, if they start him and he doesn't really perform very well, I think he's one of the guys in the chopping block. It's getting to the point where when he comes on either as a sub for Brenner or as a complement to Brenner, he's just not pulling in the numbers we expected. I was expecting him to give us production for the games that Brenner was not able to. And
yeah, I mean, just look at Brenner or Barry in Columbus. The young kid who can get on the field and knock in those goals. So yeah, we need a kid like that. And Vasquez has wasted some opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the names on that list I think are expendable. You take a look at Castillo, you take a look at Stanko. These are names that I'm like, I don't see why you would want to keep them around for another year if the production was this low and they're not coming onto the field in waves. I also think that some of these players are probably going to want to leave on their own volition because they're just not getting things done what they'd like to be doing. I think you'll probably see Vanderwerf leave the same way that Pedersen left. As far as all the draftees and all the youngsters, it's hard to say. I'm still waiting for the shoe to drop on Lunt, and I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the season, if they're like Lunt, if we're not going to use him in his 4th year, he should be gone.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused on what we can do, what we cannot do. We actually talked about trying to figure out like an imaginary list, like what would really fix this team, because those are really cool to talk about. And then what's a realistic possibility? And I don't think you obviously can't chop Vermeer, you can't chop Mkocho, both. You can only realistically get rid of one with a buyout, and then at the rest of that point, then it's a matter of like whether you want to keep your youngsters or not. And that's why we get into this whole play them, because I have no idea if Ben Lunt is a good keep next year or if he's somebody you need to let go. Does the entire goalkeeping need wiped or not?
And
We don't know.
This is why we bring in a guy with MLS experience.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Male or female, doesn't matter. Somebody with league experience.
Kraft also asked, "What are you guys' thoughts on Kubo?"
If we can get out of his contract, I think you move him on. Get out.
Yeah, I'm not.
He's decent.
I agree.
Makes too much money, and he just doesn't know the intricacies of that role. He doesn't. How do I say this? He's not dynamic in his passing. He's kind of like what the U.S. men's national team was versus Canada, with every pass that he gets is foreseeable.
I like Kubo as a sub. I like him as a rotation guy. I think he has a lot of fight, and he does generate turnovers. He also gives them up, but he generates them. And so I think he could be a guy you throw in, and he makes a game-changing play, and he gets the ball forward, and then somebody else does something with it. But
can you take that money you're spending on him?
Exactly. Yeah. No. I agree.
Somebody else with 5 times as much experience
at his price. You would he take a step down in salary? Like, I know like Ledesma wouldn't, so we couldn't keep Ledesma. So
No.
If Kubo would take a price cut, then he could stay, but he may want to move on elsewhere.
I think Kubo would probably feel more comfortable going back to Europe or even back to Japan. But I think if he returning to Japan might be too early for him. He's still pretty young. I think he still has a lot in his engine. I just think he'd probably want to go back to Europe and build up his reputation there again.
We've seen Kubo. We know what Kubo has to offer. Like that's to me. If the front office wants to have some fun, let the fans see what you have. Let's see Duvall, Blackett, Scott, Flanagan. Let's see Ben Lunt. Let's see what this team has to offer, and then we will have a lot of fun in the off season trying to figure this all out. Right now, we're turning it into an off season podcast, aren't we?
I was just gonna say we got a lot of time left here, pal.
Well, we are over the hour mark. If you guys want to switch to final thoughts.
Sure. I kind of what you're saying earlier is, we still need to be, supportive of each other going into these games. We're here for our friends. So, still try to utilize your tickets, get people there, get people in your seats. Still, keep the ball rolling for FC Cincinnati. We're still gonna have a lot of great moments, whether it's the U.S. women, the U.S. men coming up. So just enjoy it, man. I'm here for the shenanigans that we see online. And a lot of fun. And hell, even if we're terrible, it's still fun to beat a Nashville or somebody else. So, yeah, excited for the year. Appreciate all you guys' support that we have. And I guess I wouldn't say our new venture, our roster rebuild of CST. But Boston, you're kicking butt, and really love what's going on. We got a lot ahead, and can't wait to do this with you guys.
All right. Motivational, inspirational, as
From
always.
the Ginge.
Brian Weigel. Jeff Tebbets, final thoughts?
I just want to, maybe this is just my attempt at just a little bit of levity, but I had a lot of fun watching what happened outside of FC Cincinnati's game. I don't know if you guys saw on Friday night when it was Philadelphia and New England. Near the end of the game, one of the Henry Kessler, one of their defenders, tried to get a ball to kick it out, and it was there for a throw-in with about no time left on the clock. Instead of backing off, he grabs the ball that was supposed to be used for the throw-in, throws it into the crowd, and I'm sorry, but that was the best housery I've ever seen.
We could have had him too.
We could have had him too.
Sometimes when you draft 1 and 2 every year,
you take a look at that. You take a look at what happened in Argentina and Brazil over the last night. There was a lot to laugh at this week. And if you didn't take the time to sort of look at things and laugh out loud from what was going on, if you were in the dark about that one, basically there were players on the Argentinian team that shouldn't have been playing because they played for the Premier League and they weren't cleared. And you could play yakety sax in the back and it would look like a Benny Hill episode. It was just total chaos. And that's the times when you just got to sit back and laugh. Just laugh about things. That's all I got to say about this weekend.
I think my final thoughts are we need to get a Jeff Tebbets Silliness in American Soccer podcast where he just goes through 15 minutes of the craziest highlights around. I mean, half of them would be from Major League Soccer. I swear there's all kinds of weirdness that goes on in this league. But no, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your thoughts coming on the show week after week. You've been a dependable and reliable co-host, so I appreciate that. We thank you, listener. FC Cincinnati may not be great, but you are. You keep showing up every week after week. You'll be here next year. You'll be here the year after. And with all the money we're spending and with all the changes we're going to throw around, eventually one of these is going to stick. And, we're going to be rocking like we used to back when Manuel Ledesma scored a goal a game. And CST is going to be fun and action-packed. More than it already is, because I still give these guys credit for bringing the energy every week. But thanks for sticking with us. And as Nick Subes would say, watch your tackles.